Tonight's story isn't just about infidelity. It's about a circle of friends, a hallway camera, and a blueprint of fraud that thought it could hide in the dark. At a glittering gala, Ethan Ward noticed the kind of hairline cracks only a builder sees, small tells that would later split into a courtroom truth. We're diving into how receipts beat rumors, watermarked docs, access logs, a storage unit with a drive that changed everything. And yes, the secret didn't stay secret, because courtrooms don't care about charm. If you want more dramatic, real-to-the-bone cheating stories, make sure you're subscribed to Cheating Stories 7, like this video, and share your take in the comments. Your voice helps the truth travel. Now, take a breath and step with me into Caught Cheating with My Friends. Her secret was exposed in court. Downtown shimmered that night, towers glittering like chandeliers set against the skyline. The gala was staged as a fiction where donors felt generous, and architects pretended chandeliers were structural. Waiters skimmed between tuxedos. A quartet dragged bows across strings with the kind of effort meant to sound effortless. Lena arrived on Ethan's arm in a dress the color of midnight after rain. For a brief walk through the room, he allowed himself to believe in surfaces. The circle found them quickly near the Champagne Tower. Marcus, with his broad grin and sleeve-rolled bravado, moved as if every room owed him change. Noel spoke questions that disguised themselves as compliments. Terrence led with figures and followed with favors. Jude laughed too hard, the kind of laugh that sought reflection more than joy. Glasses rose in a toast to a hospital wing, an airport contract, to a year designed to embarrass the last. Ethan cataloged each smile with the precision of a surveyor noting hairline cracks. Not alarms, indicators. He did not watch Lena like a detective. He watched her like a builder reading loads, measuring how her shoulder tilted when Marcus spoke. How Noel's gaze lingered not on her face but her wrist, searching for a door that might open. The way she laughed 2 notes too high, then glanced around to hear her own echo. None of it was evidence. All of it drew lines he could not unknow. The development chair tugged Ethan toward a donor who collected hospitals the way other men collected watches. He spoke in clean phrases about skylights and recovery through light. When Ethan returned, Lena was at the ballroom's blurred edge near the corridor. Marcus offered her a fresh flute. They stood too close, their silence charged. Ethan felt the ground shift under him like scenery moved by an unseen stagey hand. On their drive home, Lena narrated the mythology of the night, who wore what, whose board seat wobbled, which pastry had insulted sugar. She asked if his speech landed. He said it had. She squeezed his hand at a red light, smiled the kind of smile that had rescued 100 small moments. He kissed her knuckles and told himself not to measure love with calipers. Morning brought ordinary rituals. The clink of a spoon, Lena humming behind the shower door, coffee breathing through the kitchen like something faithful. But on Ethan's laptop, an email waited that did not belong to breakfast. Subject line, "You deserve the truth." No greeting, no signature. 4 attachments, each named for men he knew too well. He hovered, not yet ready. The preview pane was enough to draw blood, a hotel hallway, a brass number, Lena's profile entering. The shell clip he had bought in Charleston glinted in her hair. A hand ushered her in. The door closed like a mouth. He shut the laptop. The house exhaled around him. Stairs creaked with remembered weight. The shower cut off. He opened the machine again, not to play the files, but to count timestamps, measure file sizes, sketch patterns. His notepad filled with unromantic lines of deduction. At breakfast, Lena wore the face she reserved for resets, bare makeup, hair braided loose, slicing a strawberry with studied care. "Big day?" she asked, casual as a lifeguard calling from shore. "Foundation meeting," Ethan said, true about the hospital, truer about something else. Add a wing, reinforce the spine, run wiring where no guest would ever see. He kissed her temple, left early. In his office, he called a concierge from Donor Weekends, requesting a favor dressed as research. Within an hour, he held access logs that looked like ordinary spreadsheets. Marcus at 11:56, Lena at 11:59, Lena out at 12:37, Jude at 12:40, Coincidence, the way collapse could be coincidence of gravity. By lunch, numbers refused to be innocent. A new vendor, a mailbox address, invoices calibrated just under second signature thresholds, too perfect to be honest. He traced wires through 3 banks to a trust with a Latinate name that sounded like prayer or parody. At 3:11 p.m., another email arrived. Not yet. Watch. Let them think you're asleep. Attached, a still image. Lena's wrist in corridor light, a bracelet he had never bought. He closed the image before it could sprout teeth. That evening, he stirred dinner to avoid stirring thoughts. Lena floated talk of a weekend away, no phones, no alerts. He agreed, voice flat as a test siren noted for decibel. Later, she slept against his shoulder as actors on screen betrayed each other with flawless grammar. He waited, set an alarm for 11:50, dressed in dark clothes, not to vanish but to avoid being loud. No gun, only a notebook, a pen, and a flashlight. He watched her sleep one more time, then stepped into a night that smelled of stalled rain. He locked the door softly, drove without music. His mantra whispered like rebar, measure first, cut once. The hotel's third-floor corridor smelled of carpet cleaner and secrets scrubbed but never erased. Ethan stood in shadow near an ice machine that coughed like a guilty witness. Room 314 hummed faintly, laughter seeping through the seal. His phone buzzed with another anonymous email. Now you know. Are you ready to act? He did not storm the door. He did not break. He measured. He counted seconds between bursts of laughter and marked them like stress tests on a frame. At 12:39, the latch whispered. Jude stumbled out first, tie loose, grin sloppy. 47 seconds later, Lena emerged, polished enough to pass any mirror, unaware of the man she walked past. No one sees the figure who refuses drama its applause. Ethan let them vanish into the night, then slipped back toward the lobby, his expression steady, his silence deliberate. On his way out, he paused at the concierge desk, inquiring casually about sustainability upgrades. The young clerk smiled, typed, and by the time Ethan reached his car, a brochure with attached floor plans landed in his inbox. Architects live on documents, and documents, when read correctly, gossip more than people. Metadata revealed its tale, the printer name of the committee office, the export timestamp, the workstation ID. Gossip dressed as technical details, proof waiting to be pressed. Back home, he didn't open wine or rage at ceilings. He called Tess Kim, the forensic accountant who had steadied hospital projects with math no lie could outrun. He didn't say cheating, he said irregularities. He forwarded a slim packet, vendor lists, mailbox addresses, wire echoes that repeated like a bad rhythm. Tess offered no sympathy, she offered precision. Give me a week and a burner, she said, and for the love of outcomes, don't spook the subjects. The next morning, Ethan laid his first trap. He drafted a confidential memo about a potential hospital donor exploring innovative lighting. Attached, a one-page mock specification salted with invisible watermarks, microscopic kerning shifts, a ghost period in the footer, details so slight they'd survive any copy. He printed 4 versions, one for each man in the circle, sealed each in its own envelope. Keep this off email until we decide, he told them, voice light as dust. By mid-afternoon, the burner phone trembled. A nameless account forwarded a document to Vetter Lighting at. Ethan opened his ledger of variants. The tell was immediate, Knowles' copy. His version carried the altered spacing on line 7, the tiny orphan mark at the edge of the footer. Architectural signatures don't lie. Caught, not for the hotel, not for the affair, but for betrayal that lived deeper in the bloodstream of business, in the veins of trust. He didn't celebrate, he adjusted the frame. That evening, Lena floated an idea scented with distraction. We should take a weekend, no phones, just us. Her eyes shifted half a degree at the word phones. He didn't answer the way movies would script it. He said softly, after the donor meeting. Night draped itself across the house. Anonymous messages pushed again. Meet me if you want proof they are stealing more than your wife. Pier 9. Come alone. The photo that followed staged itself as casual surveillance. Lena and Marcus walking into a row of storage units, baseball caps tugged low, Theatrical, deliberate. Ethan didn't stare at faces, he studied shadows. A cropped billboard corner gave away time and place. Street view confirmed both. The photo was real, but so was the sender's performance. Whether stalker or stage manager, they overplayed their hand. Ethan's reply was brief. Send me the unit number or don't contact me again. 10 minutes later, a code arrived. He did not go. The next afternoon, he arrived with a bonded locksmith and a deposition videographer. Chain of custody began when the lock surrendered. Inside, plastic bins labeled with masking tape, low and patient. Ethan's breath caught on mic when he lifted a lid, duplicates of hospital bid samples, side-channel invoices bearing the shell vendor's name, a flash drive labeled VLS Master. He sealed it without opening, signed the tape, logged the hour. The trap had sprung. The second baited itself. He sent Tess a still from the footage. She called in under a minute. That drive is either payday or poison, she said. We'll image it tomorrow with a right blocker. If there's a ledger, we'll find it. Ethan drove home rehearsing every possible detonation, kitchen confrontation, a speech about vows, a cinematic exit. None of it built anything. He chose silence instead, the kind that braces beams without cracking plaster. The bar on Mercer Street had wood that remembered things. Rings from long-finished glasses, a scar where a bottle had once fallen, polish kept alive by hands that believed in second chances. Ethan chose the corner booth, the one that let him watch both the door and the street. He set the folder on the table like some men set down faith and waited. Noel arrived late, carrying the swagger of a man who thought apologies were rumors to be ignored. He slid into the booth, pretending small talk could smooth beams before measurement. "How'd we do on the Westlake bid?" Noel asked, voice falsely casual. "That depends," Ethan said evenly, "on whether we paid for lighting twice." Noel tried laughter, the kind men use when they want oxygen itself to agree. Ethan didn't join him. He slid a single page across the table. Non-disclosure and non-disparagement. Short. Surgical. Sign this and we talk, refuse, and the next conversation will be under oath with a court reporter. Noel smirked like signatures were theater, but he signed. Men like him believe documents are slow bravado. Ethan took the page back and tapped his phone. The videographer's footage came alive, bins in storage, the VLS flash drive sealed in evidence tape, time-stamped with chain of custody. Noel's grin dissolved first, then his eyes. Ethan laid down a second page, an admission of forwarding proprietary material outside the firm. Beneath it, the doctor-donor spec, still carrying the microscopic watermark unique to Noel's version, the subtle kerning, the ghost punctuation no scan could erase. "That went to Vetter lighting at 3:22, Ethan said. "Explain." The pen trembled in Noel's hand. He reached for blame the way drowning men reach for driftwood. "You put Lena in this," he muttered. "Brittle, she put herself in this," Ethan said. His voice was calm steel. "I'm giving you a bridge back, walk it or drown bragging." Noel stared at the paper, then back at Ethan. His bravado cracked like plaster under strain. Finally, he scrawled his name, witness not savior. "Do I get immunity?" he asked, hope curling around the question. "You get accuracy," Ethan replied, "and fewer surprises than Marcus." They stood, Noel's hand hovered, searching for a handshake to retrofit trust. Ethan let it fall. Outside, night tasted of rain and switchbacks. Noel walked away smaller, carrying weight he couldn't disguise. Back at the house, Lena tried on tenderness like a coat she wasn't sure still fit. She sat at the edge of the bed, posture folded, voice softened. "Do you ever feel like we grew around a hollow?" she asked. "Like a tree that looks perfect, but the heartwood is gone." "Trees don't sign NDAs, Ethan said. "People do." Her eyes widened, then shuddered. "What did you do?" "Measured loads," he said, "and found where the weight really sits." Downstairs, the refrigerator hummed. Ethan opened his phone, the one only Tess had. A message waited. "Found a forged page in your prenup. Notary seal substitution. Overlays attached." He enlarged the files. The faint aberration in the margin betrayed a swap, a page imported after signing. A paragraph protecting his property rights had been replaced by a friendlier fiction, That was not impulse. That was premeditation. Later, Lena brushed her teeth like she was washing off a future. Ethan stood in the dark, quiet as blueprint lines, and let the truth settle. Adultery was a story people told themselves. Fraud was a record, and records never forgave. News does not explode. It seeps slow, merciless until the beams sag. The first leak dripped at 9:17 a.m. on Blind Room, a gossip account thriving on corporate rivalries. Grainy footage, Lena and Marcus sliding down a hotel hallway. The caption a pun, the comments sharpened like torches. By mid-morning, Ethan's phone buzzed with messages dressed as condolences. Are you okay? Stay strong. Words people send when they smell fire but bring no water. Employees forwarded the link with sorry attached, as though apology could sand bone. At 10:43, his counsel released one line. The Ward Group is conducting an internal audit regarding vendor irregularities. We are confident in our findings and will not litigate in public. The word audit was deliberate. Numbers terrify the guilty more than adjectives. The office pulsed like a hospital during a blackout, swift, hushed, precise. Tess texted, nice statement. Keep receipts close. Meanwhile, the anonymous account howled louder, post the truth or lose the narrative. Pier 9 tonight. I'll give you what the courts can't. Ethan blocked it. Rage does not draft blueprints. Then came the knock of mercy. Lena's sister, Sierra, on the stoop, jacket damp with morning rain, her eyes heavy with something more than gossip. She stepped inside and dropped the pretense of admiration. I sent the first email, she confessed, voice pitched to the floorboards. Not the others. I saw her messages on the iPad. I thought if you knew you'd stop her. Then somebody else piled on. Maybe Terrence's wife, maybe Jude's. They wanted detonation. Why now? Ethan asked, steady as steel. Because the leak will get uglier, Sierra whispered. And because Lena, she'll play victim. She always does when cornered. She forged the prenup, Ethan said. The words hit the room like a dropped wrench. Sierra closed her eyes, then opened them with courage frayed but present. I thought you'd scream, punch walls, walk out. I didn't expect. She gestured at his binders, his labeled drives, the scaffolding of calm. All this. It's how I stay human, Ethan said. Violence is their fantasy of me. I won't give it to them. She nodded, handed him an old photo, Lena in college, grin wild, eyes still ungoverned. She wasn't always like this, Sierra said softly. Or maybe she was, and we mistook appetite for ambition. By mid-afternoon, Malice respawned under a new address, Pier 9. Tonight, bring yourself. Leave patience behind. Ethan hit delete. His docket held court, not alleyways. By evening, Lena's attorney struck back with a restraining order request, painting Ethan as coercive, retaliatory, weaponizing process. The filing called him obsessive, as if paperwork were violence and fraud a clerical mistake. Ethan's counsel responded with scalpels, motions to compel, expedited discovery, sanctions for spoliation. Tess drafted imaging protocols with hash values that turned whispers into evidence. Ethan braced when Tess asked him to view one clip. Lena in a hotel room, laughter careless. Jude's reflection ghosting in the mirror. Ethan did not break at the sight of them. He broke at the clasp on her wrist, the one he had designed, hidden teeth making the bracelet seamless. Love had believed that design would adorn beauty. Betrayal had used it as a key. That night, a car idled too long outside. Marcus, leaning from the passenger seat, grin animal, knuckles raw. Be a man, he spat. Finish it in the street. Ethan raised his phone, flash, a small lightning. Marcus flinched. The car peeled away, tires spitting rage. Ethan texted counsel, witness intimidation, logged. Lights clicked on across the porch, domestic injunction against the dark. Inside, Lena paced the kitchen, voice pitched sharp on the phone. He's harassing me with lawyers, turning everyone against me. Words chosen for an audience, words built to travel. Minutes later, Sierra texted from the alley, come out back. By the hydrangeas, she waited, hoodie pulled tight. I told you, she said. She hung up. It'll get worse before it gets better, Ethan told her. Storms don't stop at the first clap. Do you hate her? Sierra asked, eyes searching his face. I don't have time, Ethan said. Hate is full time. He had filings. Back inside, Lena armored herself in practiced hurt. You had me served at work, she said, incredulous as if subpoenas were bullets and infidelity a scheduling error. You had me served first, Ethan reminded her gently. We're speaking in a language courts understand. You sound like a memo, she spat. Better than sounding like a rumor, he said. They stood apart, two people who once shared a mattress on the floor and now could not share air. He handed her a preservation letter, the kindest thing left. She tore it open without reading, leaving it on the counter like an accusation. They'll see what you are, she said. They will, he replied. That's the point. Upstairs, he sealed the VLS drive in a fireproof bag. Through the curtain, he spotted a neighbor pulling in a trash bin, a proof of civilization. On his phone, a stray message in the spam folder whispered one last nudge. She thinks the TRO will freeze you. File first. Beat her to the clerk. He didn't need the reminder. His filings were ready, the courthouse already mapped. He slept 4 hours, dreamless. Somewhere online, the comments multiplied teeth. Somewhere, Marcus drank courage like poison. Ethan sharpened his knife and laid it on the table. Not a knife for blood. A knife for signatures, for dates, for dockets. A knife that wanted only proof. Depositions are theater without applause. The conference room smelled of carpet glue and burnt coffee, the brass clock in the corner ticking like a metronome for ruin. A court reporter sat with headphones, fingers poised above keys as though lives could be measured in strokes. Ethan occupied the far end of the table, his legal pads squared, his hand steady. Tess arranged exhibits with the quiet precision of a magician who didn't trust applause. They began with Jude. Men like Jude always leaned first on charm, then boredom, then indignation like a rehearsed 3-act play. But charm dies in fluorescent light. Exhibit 12, Tess said, sliding forward an invoice from Vetter Lighting, $14,975, conveniently under the threshold requiring secondary approval. Click. The screen lit with the storage unit video the moment the latch surrendered. Exhibit 23, Chain of Custody. Click. Exhibit 7, Hilton Access Logs. Paper piled like snow, indifferent to drama. Isn't it true, Tess asked, voice glass-sharp, that you forwarded Ward Group's donor spec outside the firm without authorization? I don't recall, Jude began, smirk flickering. Tess leaned in, watermark page in hand. This is your copy. The double space on line 7 is unique to you. The ghost period in the footer is unique to you. When Vetter replied, they accidentally sent their first message to your personal account before switching. Please answer the question. Jude blinked once, twice, the blink of a man whose bravado had found gravity. Yes, he murmured. And who instructed you to use VLS? Marcus, Jude whispered. He said speed mattered. He said everyone did it. And the money? Terrence moved it, Jude admitted, his voice shrinking. And who created the trust receiving disbursements? A pause. The reporter's fingers hovered like dragonflies. Jude's eyes lowered. Lena, he said, nearly inaudible. Her maiden name in Latin, the bank didn't question it. By lunch, Jude was begging for a proffer session. By evening, he had sketched the full architecture of betrayal, Marcus as architect of siphons, Terrence as the banker, Jude as courier of secrets, and Lena, originator of the trust, the seamstress threading fraud into fabric. When Ethan heard Tess whisper, "There it is," he knew the blueprint was complete. The city, meanwhile, consumed headlines, caught cheating with his friends. But inside the deposition room, the story had shifted, no longer about infidelity alone, but about fraud, forgery, and bad faith. At home that night, Ethan brewed coffee with hands that had stopped trembling. Lena descended the stairs with her practiced face, trying on innocence as if it were a tailored coat. "You're destroying us," she accused, incredulous as if us hadn't been buried months ago. "You forged the prenup," Ethan replied, calm as ledger ink. "You turned my friends into debt. I'm just calling the inspector." Tears followed, professional and timed, but they slid off him like rain on glass. When the mask dropped, she spat venom. "They said you'd never fight. They said you only build." He almost smiled. "I am building." Moments later, Terrence's counsel emailed, subject, offer. A payout large enough to tempt most men into silence. Ethan read it twice, not for temptation, but for accuracy. He forwarded it to Tess and his attorney with 2 words, not enough. Afternoon brought a pre-trial hearing. Fluorescent light flattened everyone equally. Lena's team launched adjectives like darts, coercive, punitive, retaliatory. The judge tilted her head. "Counsel, I see a pattern of concealment," she said, tapping the forged prenup overlay. "Spare me adjectives, show me numbers." And Tess did hash values, reconciled ledgers, approval thresholds sidestepped with intent. Noel confirmed his NDA, Jude confessed with new devotion, and the judge's pen moved like a quiet guillotine. By adjournment, a preliminary injunction date was set. Spousal support, the judge hinted, was unlikely for a spouse acting in bad faith. Outside, cameras lunged. Ethan gave them nothing but one sentence: "Records matter more than rumors." As he walked past Marcus, the smirk cracked into a whisper. "You'll never get the house. Judges love wives." Ethan looked at him like a surveyor marking land. Judges love records. That night he drafted 3 lists: witnesses, Jude, Noel, the concierge, the videographer, the locksmith, Sierra, the neighbor. Exhibits, watermark variants, the VLS drive image, Hilton logs, storage footage, prenup overlays, TRO response, intimidation photo. Relief, restitution. Title: Denial of spousal support on grounds of bad faith. Referral. He closed the notebook, silence haloing the porch light outside. For the first time since the gala, the quiet was not a verdict but a pause. Proof had shape now. And soon, judgment would too. Courtrooms are built to drain heat. By the time trial began, gossip outside had dulled into background noise. Inside, only paper mattered. Fluorescent light flattened everyone, triumphant, terrified, and tired alike. Ethan sat steady, his counsel refusing theatrics. She did not give the judge a villain to hate. She offered a pattern to weigh. Invoices split below thresholds, disbursements landing in a down payment account, a prenup page swapped under a false seal, watermark variants that whispered confession. Nothing screamed. It accumulated. Judges don't rule on screams. The gallery rustled when Lena entered. Her grief looked curated, her composure fitted like a garment. Her attorney rose with practiced ease, calling the case a marital breakdown. Entrepreneurial overflow misread as fraud. He painted Ethan as a husband weaponizing process because he couldn't handle loss. The judge's eyebrows lifted, then lowered like scalpels. "Spare me adjectives, show me numbers." And Tess did. She walked the court heel to toe down a spine of dates and documents. On February 12, invoice submitted, $14,975, just under threshold. On February 13, transfer to Arcadia down payment account. On February 14, representation to lender that funds were gifts. Each date laid like joists, each exhibit bearing weight. When Lena took the stand, the judge's tone was gentle but gavel true. "Your explanation requires a deposit to post on a bank holiday," she said. The silence that followed was dust settling after demolition. Lena tried pivots, calling shell vendors industry normal, calling the modified prenup a cleanup scan. But overlays told a louder story. The misaligned seals, the imported paragraph, the chain of custody video of bins and drives. Noel testified within the narrow bridge of his NDA. Jude, trembling but converted, pointed to ledgers like a man confessing to gravity. The concierge identified access logs. The videographer recited hash values. The locksmith recalled the exact moment a cylinder yielded. It was not theater. It was plumbing. Marcus never made it to cross. On the courthouse steps, he signed a consent judgment, survival disguised as contrition. Terrence arrived with a repayment plan scrawled in arithmetic that finally respected math. Fraudulent empires collapse not with fireworks, but with ledgers. When the ruling came, it wore plain clothes. Restitution of siphoned funds to the ward group, principal plus interest. Title to the home vested in Ethan, fraud findings cited. Spousal support denied with prejudice. Equity does not feed the hand that forged its own hunger. The words would live in casebooks. Referral to the district attorney for whatever action they deemed fit. Noel paid, Jude paid and wept. Terrence paid more than he thought he could and bore it. Marcus paid in silence. Lena stood still as the clerk read, her calculations slipping only at the edges. She did not look at Ethan when she left, which was itself an admission. Outside, microphones lunged, hungry for adjectives. Ethan gave them a noun. "I don't believe in revenge," he said. "I believe in records." The line looped through headlines, mistaken for virtue, but it was strategy. Let them underestimate what it cost to build proof. At home, he touched the dining table he had sanded summers ago, the one that had survived arguments, laughter, now depositions. The house exhaled without perfume. Quiet no longer felt like verdict. It felt like level ground. He opened the ruling again, read the verbs, granted, denied, ordered, referred. Law is a language of verbs, rewarding proof with action. He let the weight of those words settle into his chest. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to imagine tomorrow, not survival, not defense, tomorrow as blueprint. Weeks after the ruling, the city had already moved on to fresher scandals. Ethan hadn't. His silence was deliberate, his house steady. Then one Sunday morning, his phone chimed with a final anonymous message. "You never came to the pier." "Good, men who come to the pier don't get courts, they get cuffs. Attached is what you missed." He clicked once. Grainy video bloomed, Marcus exchanging cash with a Hilton maintenance tech, a palm-sized camera changing hands. The trick was never passion or jealousy. It was commerce. Sightlines subcontracted, betrayal industrialized. Ethan didn't replay it. He forwarded the clip to counsel with one note, civil file closed. Send to DA if useful. The rot, he realized, had always been older and deeper. By afternoon, Sierra arrived with muffins no one asked for. She stayed to box linens, her silence kind. At the hallway, she asked, awkward as a child learning new words. "Do you hate her?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't have time. Hate is full-time. I have projects." "What kind?" He pointed to a pinboard, sketches for an addition to his parents' modest house, 2 bedrooms, a porch where evening air could do what sermons rarely managed. "They kept me alive when work tried to eat me. I owe them corners that stay square." Relief softened Sierra's face. "You'll be good again." "I'll be level," he said, and in his language. That meant the same. On Thursday, under courthouse fluorescence, he signed the last papers. A clerk read the dissolution in words that had never known love. The stamp echoed like a nail set true. On Friday, he wired a bonus to the paralegal who had caught the forged seal. Quiet victories deserve parades, too. Saturday, he opened every window of his now-empty house. Perfume dissolved, air remembered neutrality. He brewed coffee without carrying it upstairs. He drank on the back steps, feet on cool stone, morning unfolding with sparrows and hoses instead of lies. By noon, he stood at the community center slab, walking the chalk lines with the director who called him kiddo as if the word itself was a benediction. She said, "I heard your story." He winced. "Not that one," she clarified. "The one where you finished drawings the day your life tried to stop." He laughed then, the kind of laugh that didn't need witnesses. "That's the only one that matters." That evening, he walked room to room, folding scarves for donation, moving chairs so sunlight hit differently. He left the dining table where it stood. You don't punish wood for what it witnessed. At night, he typed 3 lines into a blank document. "I did not forgive. I did not forget. I outlived." He closed the laptop and let piano notes carry the silence, joist steady under his chest. Happiness wasn't the word. Happiness was weather. He was something sturdier, level plumb true. Tomorrow, he would mount a porch light at his parents' new home. He would pick up Bruno, his brother's reckless dog, and let him race the yard. He would answer clients who had waited. He would send Sierra a photo of the porch with the caption, "Level at last." If headlines ever tried to reduce him to betrayal, he already had his rebuttal. He'd point to stamped records, to permits pulled, to laughter in a building that owed him nothing. His favorite revenge was measured in inspections passed, in doors that swung true, in keys that fit. Somewhere, Lena was learning that charm doesn't pay debts. Somewhere, Marcus and his circle counted backward from smaller numbers, their empire shrunk to receipts. The maintenance man who sold angles likely spent his cash on something brief and gone. The anonymous sender faded into fog. In his quiet house, Ethan measured a new kind of load, what the heart can carry when it chooses proof over love. Proof had ended a story. Plans would begin the next. He rinsed his cup, switched off the light, and climbed the stairs. No audience, no verdict. Just a house breathing steady, finally, truly level. That's where this story lands, not in a headline, but in a record. The friends weren't friends, the marriage wasn't a home, and the truth chose paper over performance. Ethan didn't swing at walls, he documented them. Restitution ordered, support denied, bad faith on the record. If you were in Ethan's place, would you confront in the kitchen or let the court do the talking? Tell me in the comments. If this hit close to home, subscribe to Cheating Stories 7 like the video and share it with someone who needs the reminder. Revenge fades, but records hold. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.